Hello, welcome to the Wheelin with Dylan podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Kelly, and then we have on our guest Lance Fenderson today. So happy to have you. Thanks for joining, Lance.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. How are you doing?
Doing well. Like I said, just got home from work, so long day, a little
Yeah,
tired, but yeah, excited to be on here and getting to talk with you.
cool. Well, I appreciate that you took some time out of your day. I know sometimes it's hard to do like anything after work.
Yeah.
What do you do? What do you do for work?
So I'm an additive manufacturing engineer at a company called Keselowski Advanced Manufacturing. It's in Statesville, North Carolina. We were recently acquired, so we're also known as Adman Group. But the original company was called Keselowski Advanced Manufacturing. So, uh, uh, the really basic way of explaining it is that we're doing metal 3D printing. So it's a very new technology. It's kind of trailblazing the manufacturing world. So the printers that we use are called powder bed fusion additive manufacturing printers. So we have some that take up like entire rooms. They're massive machines, and they're um, essentially melting powder, metal powder, layer by layer. Um, and it's most of the stuff that we're doing is for like space or aerospace or military or automotive uh, fields. So it offers you like the ability to make some parts that you wouldn't be able to make with typical like casting or machining, and so that's why it's appealing to those companies that are making really complicated parts that have some crazy functionality to them.
Well, that's cool. I mean, to be honest, what I got from all that is you sound like a really smart guy, and I wouldn't be able to do your job because. But it sounds cool what you do. What did you go to school for to be able to get into that again?
I went for mechanical engineering.
Okay. So when you got hurt, were you going through school already, or were you how old were you?
Yeah, I was 17, so I was still in high school. I was in my junior year, and it was like the last week of school, my junior year of high school. So when I was in the hospital, that's kind of the period of time where you're doing most of your college applications, like over the
Mm.
summer between your junior and senior year of high school. So I remember doing a lot of my college applications, um, like in Shepherd.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind just speaking on that a little bit, so you got hurt when you were about 17, and you said you went to Shepherd's.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so what's like your story, if you don't mind? I mean, I really want to talk about what you're doing now, but if you don't mind giving everybody a little background story of how you got hurt and how the recovery was and everything.
Yeah, so like I said, I was 17. This was in May of 2019. I broke my neck in a lacrosse game. So I had a collision with another player. I was on defense, he was on offense, and it broke my C5, 6, and 7. So I'm fused from 4 to 8. Um, and I think technically I classify somewhere around C5. Um,
Okay.
I initially went to the hospital in Asheville, North Carolina. That's where my injury was. Had my fusion done there, and I was there for about a week, and then I was transferred to Shepherd Center, um, where I finished out my rehab for the next 4 to 5 months. I think I went home September 1st or something about there.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, it was a long process, as you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, every day feels like a month in there sometimes, but I
Yeah.
mean, there's definitely positives from it. But you and I just missed each other, so I got hurt in November 2019 and was flown to Shepherd's at the end of that month. So, if you stuck around for another 2 months, We probably would have met each other around then. But you're killing it. Like as far as just I talked to you a little bit, but I follow you on Instagram, and I saw a story that Shepherds had done, and we talk about our stories about how, and everybody does with spinal cord injuries. When you get hurt, how is life changing for you? You're 17. You're like you said, you're about to end high school, going to college, and applying everything, and something happens that you didn't expect. Nobody expects or plans on these kind of things to happen. But it's all about how you adjust, right? About how you adapt, and that's what I'd like to focus on, especially today, because I think a lot of people could learn from you and how you did so, and including myself, because we're always adapting. That's just what life is in general. So now you're super into racing. You're not just into it, you're really good at it. You're a legit professional here. I'm not talking to someone who just enjoys and messes around with it every once in a while. So I don't want to downplay it. Have you always been into racing?
Yeah, I got into a go-kart for the first time when I was about 4.5 years old.
Okay.
So I was driving for as long as I can remember and way beyond. Um, I was kind of starting out when I was living up in New Hampshire, so I did some races around the Northeast. Started out at a track called F1 Boston, and then started working up through the ranks. Eventually, we moved to North Carolina, partially for racing, for better racing and to be around a better, more known track. Continued up through the national ranks of karting. I was the top ranked driver when I was in juniors, and then started at the age of 14. I started doing some actual car stuff. So I started out in open wheel, doing what's called F1600. So for people that aren't too familiar with racing, it's essentially like an Indy car or Formula One car, those style cars with just no downforce. So no big rear wing, no big front wing, no splitters and side skirts and all this stuff. Like it's just a raw kind of chassis and open wheel, open cockpit car. So that was what I did first, and then I took that and jumped over into sports car racing. So I started racing Mazda Miatas, and that's surprisingly some of the best racing you can find. Like, you can ask anybody in racing, like MX-5 and Mazda Miata racing is top notch because it's just so competitive. And then after that, I broke my neck, and so I was out of it for a couple of years. I definitely didn't know what was possible and didn't really see that role model that I was looking for early on, and I may have seen one or two people that could have been a role model, but at the time I just wasn't ready to see it that way.
Yeah.
I think I was kind of in denial and just kind of in the mindset of I'll never be back doing that. Like, it's not worth my time. It's not worth my thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of my racing history leading up to getting back in a car.
Cool. That's awesome. I mean, so what was your mindset, right? So when you get hurt, you're not thinking about racing, and that's so true. I mean, like I can recall even when I got hurt, a lot of the stuff that I was thinking about went completely out the window. Like all of a sudden, you have to think about important stuff. It's almost like surviving at first,
Yeah.
and gaining your independence, fighting to have a good quality of life, adjusting to your new circumstances, like all that. So I can understand why racing probably wasn't even a thought, and then when it is, it's like, I don't know, man, can I even do that? Is it going to be the same? And I'm sure you had a lot of doubts and stuff like that. But do you remember the moment that you realized, like, you know what, like I could actually do this again, like this might be possible?
I think I remember the first real ounce of hope that I got. I don't think I knew, but I think I had a little a fleck of just something that was like, could there be something here still? Like,
Yeah.
so that was maybe a year out from my injury. Um, we had so let me actually take a step back. So we had a really good family friend that I did some track days with, and he was a parent of a girl that was 2 grades below me. So just family friends that was also interested in racing, and we went to the track with him here and there. And when I was in the hospital, he came in, and this was maybe 3 weeks in post injury, and he came to me with a pair of keys to a BMW M3 race car and a little lanyard that had a kind of name tag on it. That was a membership card to the track that's near us. Um, and he came in and he kind of said to me, he was like, you're gonna drive again. It's gonna be a while. It's gonna take some work, but you're gonna be driving again. And I want you to hold on to this set of keys and this membership until you're ready. And that was not my moment of realization. I took
Still
the way
denial.
he was crazy and kind of at the time probably thought he was an ass for bringing that into
Yeah.
the hospital room and teasing me with it almost at
Yeah.
that point, right?
Yeah. No, for
Um,
real.
but I kept the keys, and we were good friends, and so we saw him here and there, and we went over to their house for dinner one night. This was probably about a year after my injury. Not even that. It was a couple months after I left the hospital. So let's say 8 months post injury.
Okay.
We went back over to his house, and he told me to bring the keys because I still had them. He told me to bring the keys. I was like, all right. I don't know why. Like, kind of weird. But, all right, I'll bring the keys. I still hadn't even driven anything at this point. I didn't have a street car.
Okay.
My parents drove me around, right?
Yeah.
Um, and after dinner, he told me to come outside, and he said, I want you to, like, he brought me kind of outside the front door. He was like, wait here. And he went into the garage, and he pulled out a Porsche 911 GT3 car, which is like, if you know cars, it's one of the most highly recognized cars
Yeah.
in the world. Like, it's just a beautiful piece of art, beautiful piece of machinery. And he pulls it out, pulls it around, parks it right in front of me, gets out and hands me the keys to that, and takes his BMW keys back. He's pretty much like, all right, like, you got an upgrade. It wasn't a me upgrade, it was a him upgrade, but I had the backup set of keys, so he had to trade them in, I think, or something.
Yeah.
Um, but he showed me that, and he said, "This is also yours, like, morally, whatever, theoretically. This is also yours, and we're gonna put hand controls in this, and you're gonna go drive it." And I was just like, "You're kidding! Like, there's no way."
Yeah.
But he followed through, and they put hand controls in it. It was just a simple left hand push for brake, pull for throttle, and then a tri-pin that we put on the steering wheel. And we started out, he let me go out, like, on normal roads. And I kind of drove around. I was like, I mean, it's pretty crazy first car to, like, drive with
Yeah.
hand controls.
You think?
Um, but eventually we took it to the track, and I got to run a couple laps driving. And I think that was the day that I got a little ounce of hope. I still didn't really know if there was much, but I knew I could at least get around the track.
Yeah.
I might need somebody else there. I might need some crazy technology. I don't know, but I got around the track. So I was like, "There's at least something." Like, I did that much, right? So um, the biggest thing though, it was really frustrating, I think, in that moment because it was also a moment of realization that it wasn't the same as where I left off.
Yeah.
And at the time that I left off, I was this incredibly talented, highly ranked driver with a big future, and now it was like, okay, I made it around a lap.
Yeah.
So it was bittersweet. There's definitely a moment where I was like, okay, maybe there's something here. I just did a lap. I should be grateful. I should be happy. But there was also another part of me that was like, I felt so uncomfortable, and that is not how I remember racing or driving on track. Like, and that side of it pissed me off, I guess,
Yeah.
right? And
No, for sure.
um, but I think that day was the moment where I was like, okay, maybe something could happen.
Yeah.
And then things really picked up from there.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. I mean, so it's not nearly the same because I wasn't like someone who was highly sought out for and like going to the NBA or anything. But before I got hurt, I was playing basketball 3-4 times a week,
Yeah.
and Shepherd Center in rehab. I remember it was like the first time I went to go shoot a basketball, and I was still like I had like I was in a power chair and everything. I remember being like kind of annoyed. I'm like, man, everything that I feel like I kind of worked for had kind of been different, but now I've learned there's a lot of adaptive sports and you just kind of relearn and adjust. But that feeling must have been a mix of emotions, like you said. So,
Yeah.
wow, good. I can do it. This is nice. Like I can drive again.
Yeah.
That feels good. But it's different. It's
Yeah.
definitely different. But now I'm going to fast forward, and I'm going to say something, and I want you to explain to us what that means, what you've done, and brag about yourself a little bit. Okay? So Pikes
Sure.
Peak, Pikes Peak,
Pikes
Colorado.
Peak. Yeah.
What do you do? And talk about what you did to get there as well, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Might be shorter to discuss what I didn't do. It was a crazy couple of months. Um, it it all started last June. Um, I was invited out there by a potential sponsor at the time. My dad said it's not going to happen. He had to be in New York. I told him he was crazy. We needed to go. So he flew from New York. I got my girlfriend to fly with me from Charlotte. We met him in Denver. Got to wave the green flag for Lonnie Unser, who's a um, daughter, granddaughter, great granddaughter of legends on that mountain. So I got to wave the green flag for her last year. Got to meet some people, and kind of got that spark in me of like I want to be back here. Like I don't know how, but I want to be back here.
Yeah.
Um, and so I kind of dedicated myself over the next 12 months to finding my way back to Pikes Peak in a race car. Um, and if you're around racing at all, Pikes Peak is a really big name. Like it's a world-renowned, very well-known hill climb and very well-respected hill climb. It's been running for 103 years straight. Um, and the course really hasn't changed other than the fact that they paved it a couple decades ago. So it's it's a historical event. So it's a true honor to get to race up Pikes Peak. Um, and so I kind of had to go through the trials and tribulations of proving myself on track over the next 8 months following last June so that I could build up a resume, um, get a reputation, and some trust and some people that can vouch for me. And then the 4 months leading up to the race were chaos. It was just like spont. If you We were talking earlier about how it can be a lot to get home and talk on a podcast, and
Yeah.
it's like it's so easy to just have conversation because I'm very used to getting on calls when I get home from work. Usually they're a lot more serious. So it's like I get home from working 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. I get home and I'm on calls from 5 to 10. And
Oh
it's
wow.
like it was brutal for a couple months.
Oof.
And some of my sponsors for the event were in China, so I was like staying up super late to be able to talk to them. Trying to knock out the American-based sponsors like right after work, sometimes during lunchtime. So it was just brutal leading up to it. But at the end of the day, we got a BMW M2 CSR. It's a inline six-cylinder turbocharged, 450 horsepower BMW factory-built race car. So it's a beast of a car, but it was also the fastest thing I had ever driven, like ever. Other than the GT3, but at the time I was like right after my accident, I wasn't driving it that hard.
Okay.
But yeah, that M2 it was a beast, and uh, it took a lot of effort to like get the car actually set up and running properly. Took months leading up to the event, so unfortunately I didn't even get the opportunity to drive the car before it went to Colorado.
Wow.
So
I
the
did not
first
expect that.
time I ever drove the car was on bike speed. Um,
Wow.
so that was pretty insane, and it had its downsides that we can get to here soon. Um, but yeah, so the way that the event is set up, there's a test weekend. So it's June 6th, 7th, 8th on the mountain, running each sector, bottom sector, middle sector, top sector. And then I came home for a week, went back to work, flew back to Colorado, and then you have race week. So um, the entire week leading up to the main event is pretty chaotic as well. I'll take a break and let you ask if there's anything so far you want to
No, you're
dive
good.
into a little bit more.
No, thanks for getting into it. Hey, I'm Dylan from Wheelin with Dylan.
And I'm Leah with the Cast. If you're listening to this, you are already part of the conversation, but there's a lot more to explore inside New Motion Medical Supply's Ally program.
And all our podcasts live there too. So if you want to catch past episodes or get the earliest access to new ones, that's where to go.
And the podcast is really just one piece. Inside Ally, there's a full library of articles, webinars, and short videos focused on bladder health, catheter use, and building routines that work for you.
It's also a great place to see how others are navigating things day to day. Real setups, real experiences, and things you might not always hear in a clinical setting.
And a big part of that is the community forum. There are sub-forums for different experiences and stages of life. So whether you're just getting started or have been doing this for years, there's a space for you.
You can ask questions, share what's worked for you, or just read and see how others are handling similar situations. It's a really easy way to connect and not feel like you're figuring everything out all on your own.
And it's simple to access. If you're a New Motion Medical Supplies customer, you can log in with your My New Motion account information and start exploring right away.
It's completely free, and everything's in one place at catheters.newmotion.com/ally.
Head to the Ally program today and join the conversation.
We'll see you there. For everyone listening, and then myself included, I'm always interested to hear how people just do things, independently, as small as whether it's like grocery shopping and doing whatever, but especially when you get into like some of these like adaptive sports. Adaptive shooting is something that like I wasn't familiar with, and I always like learning about. I was talking to someone the other day. He does 3D printing now to actually make like adaptive equipment, which I think is pretty cool. But I don't know. So when it comes to driving,
It's kind of funny. Let me
Yeah.
show you this while you brought that up.
okay,
We can talk about this more later. I don't even know if you can see it. It stretches, but
This
this is a
is-
little hook. It's
looks
on
like a giant
plastic
bungee cord.
band.
Uh-huh.
And it's what I use to help me cath. And
Oh, really?
that was 3D printed. That was something me and my buddy like designed before I had gone to college to help with
So
that.
we can take a pause on the racing thing for a second. Because now I'm like my brain is going so many places. So you and your friend like built this off a 3D printer?
Yeah, I knew somebody that had a 3D printer, and I had a friend that knew how to do CAD, and I'm really good at CAD now, but this was 5 years ago before I'd gone to college, um, and he was like the only person I knew that knew how to do CAD. So I kind of told him what I wanted. He designed it. We sent it to my other friend that I knew that had a 3D printer. He made a couple. They worked, and now I just keep the file. And whenever because they break or I lose, I don't know, things happen. So I keep the file and just print new ones when I need to.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how does it work? So adaptive driving, I mean, is I know a lot more straightforward, but I mean, even for me, I know like I was so happy to be able to like drive a car again, just because it meant independence for me.
Yeah.
I felt like I was stuck on at my house and like kind of tied to my parents again, which I felt like I was like, I took a couple steps back, which we all, are in that situation. We got to do. But I mean, I know that my job, that's pretty easy. It's just I'm driving all the time now. But what's different? And how does it work with like racing and stuff?
It's kind of all different, but somewhat the same, I guess. So, uh, at least for the controls, I push for brake with my left hand, pull with my left hand for throttle. Um, I'm driving with a tri-pin, so right hand is steering. We did an electronic steering reduction on the steering rack of the car, which essentially just makes it lighter, so it's easier to turn the wheel. And then I kind of self-engineered a sip and puff straw into the shifter. So I blow to downshift and I suck to upshift.
That's so
Um,
cool.
yeah, and as far as like the rest of it, it really does take a team. Um, takes an army of people that are willing to help and are willing to help because they care about you. And I'm lucky enough to have a huge support system that is the only reason that it's possible for me. Um, my mom, my dad, my girlfriend are there every single day. My brother, the rest of my family, the rest of my friends, my race team, my sponsors, everybody that's just like always willing to pitch a hand in here and there. It's what makes it possible. Uh, so like just getting in the car, I have a ton of help from either usually my dad or my girlfriend on getting my equipment on, getting my helmet, my Hans, my suit, my uh, fire retardant stuff, my gloves, the sip and puff around my neck. Like all this stuff has to happen, and a lot of it I can't do at my level of injury. So it
Yeah.
really does take an army.
Yeah, well, that's awesome that you have a good support system around you, but I know at the end of the day, it's you who has to do it, and you're driven to do it, which is huge, and I'm sure you probably motivate and make everyone around you happy. You know what I mean? It's not like one of those things. I'm sure they feel like they're forced to do it. I'm sure that it brings them a lot of joy as well. So that's awesome that you're able to have fun and do it. And another really cool thing that I found with what you do with racing is a lot of the times with adaptive sports, you're typically playing against other people who will have spinal cord injuries or some kind of, wheelchair bound, whether it's disease or whatever the case is, or amputees and stuff like that. But you're racing against like able-bodied people.
Yeah.
In fact, are you probably as far as like when you're racing, you're the only one who has
Yeah,
like
I've never raced against. I know there are other people around,
yeah.
but it's few and far between. I've never raced against another individual using hand controls.
Wow. So what is it? So what is that like? Like what? How does that make you feel? Just knowing that you can kind of
Yeah.
be on an even playing ground in a way.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, it's like you were saying, it's the only thing I've found that I can go out and do and truly compete at something that's physical and be able to compete with able-bodied people and not just like go out there and drive and last. Like I can go out and win,
Yeah.
which is something that I have found nowhere else. And I think it's incredible, and I'm really lucky that that was my passion. That was what I cared about. That was what I loved and what gave me energy in the morning and what I thought about nonstop. And I'm very, very lucky that that ended up being the thing I found that allowed me to still compete with able-bodied people.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I've ever thought about truly how lucky I am that was just the coincidence. But racing is incredible, and I think a lot of people have found it to be a very therapeutic activity. The number of, I didn't know it at first, but the number of individuals that have a spinal cord injury or some sort of disability physically that are in motorsports is actually insane. I would love for it to be even higher.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm doing this. I'm trying to get it out to as many people as I can so that that truth becomes known, that like this is something you can do that's going to really improve your mental health. So it's huge, but it's still not enough people, but it's crazy the people that I've met along the way and that have turned into my role models, and people I've met that I believe I've turned into their role models, and there really are a lot of people, and it's a great outlet for easing your mind. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really glad that you found something that has worked awesome for you as just like something you can compete in, something that makes you happy, brings you joy, gives you fulfillment, all that. Because that's, and this, on this podcast and in this Ally program in general, we just encourage everyone to just branch out and try to find what works for you. And this is an avenue that maybe no one has thought of before, maybe didn't think that it was even a possibility. But you're defeating the odds, and you're showing everyone that it's very possible. And you can kind of be a role model to a lot of people who are looking to do that. And I'm glad that you have like a social media, which we can put up on the podcast and everything like that as well for people to follow, because it's cool to follow your journey, see how you do things, see what you're, where you're racing, and all of that. So, I appreciate you coming on, and just to conclude some things too, some questions that I like to ask everyone is, you've learned a lot. I mean, you've talked to me, and I feel like I could talk to you forever, but you've talked to me about like some of your journey and how you've gotten to the point here today. If you had to go back in time and talk to Lance when he first got hurt, now he might be going through a lot at that time, but maybe, what would you tell him? Any words of advice, or maybe something that would give him a hope or something like that?
I hate these questions. I've been doing like so many job interviews over the last 6 months, and I hate the interviews that are like, tell me a time when this, or like, what would you say to old you? Where are you gonna be in 10 years? All these I hate them.
I know, that's why I did it.
Something I would say to the old me, and I don't think I actually hate the question. I just hate that I hate them because of the interviews I've been through.
It's giving you PTSD right now.
Yeah.
This is an interview. You're good.
Something I would tell the old me. I think something I learned that took me a couple years. I think one of the biggest things with spinal cord injuries too is that there's a mental recovery timeline that you have to go through.
Yeah.
And there's almost no, at least for me, there weren't too many people I would listen to after my injury. I was like, it didn't matter what people were telling me. It wouldn't really resonate, and changed the way I went about life for a while. So you have to kind of get through your own mental process, and that probably looks very different for each individual. But something that I learned, and I ended up getting as my only tattoo that I have, is the word perspective. Having a good perspective on every situation that you're in is extremely important. One of the biggest things that I try to focus on as much as I can, and sometimes I even need a reminder, is to think about. Most people will say think about the positive, but I like to think about the negative in a way sometimes where if you truly consider where you could be in the wrong direction, it helps you appreciate where you are now. Because a lot of people will think about, oh, there's this person that's walking. I really wish I was walking. I wish I was them. But for me, it's really beneficial to look in the other direction and say there's somebody with a lot less capability than I have. There's somebody that's in a much worse mental state than I am. And it makes you super grateful for where you are and the opportunities that you do have. So that's something that I've tried to keep in mind throughout the process, is to not let an ego form, realize where you could be. And when I say that, I mean that in the negative way.
Yeah.
Realize that you're lucky to be where you are, and no matter where you are, there's always somebody that's going to be a step ahead of you. There's always going to be a step behind you. So just focus on you and appreciate where you're at.
That's a great point. If I talk to others with spinal cord injuries, and people are kind of always like complaining about different stuff. I feel the same way that you do. I'm just like I always have that viewpoint of like things could be worse. I'll tell you, my first wake up call was actually pretty early after I got hurt, and it was in Shepherd Center. I had to go. So I broke my hand in like the car accident that I was in or whatever, and so we had to like go get it like recasted or something. And so we went down to, I think it was like the third floor where the casting was. And that's also where they kept like a lot of the patients with TBIs, with traumatic brain injuries.
Yep.
And I realized in that moment, like, okay, it really stinks that I suffered a spinal cord injury, but I could also have, a TBI, or this could be happening, or I could be dealing with some other health issues. So perspective is really good. I'm glad that you opened up about that. I appreciate that, because I think that's a good mindset to have, because it'll make your day a little easier when instead of throwing yourself a pity party, that's not really going to do too much for you.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly.
I appreciate that. And like you talked about kind of before, like a lot of people, when you do get hurt, they look at the fact that, you can't walk, and that does stink, but there's a lot more than that, right? That people don't talk about. It's the mental part of it is a huge one. And then there's stuff that the Ally program is very open about when it comes to like catheterizing your bowel and bladder program and stuff like that. How have you been able to manage some of that? And then one question that I'm kind of interested in is, how do you plan out, like when you're going to go race and stuff like that? Do you do anything specifically when it comes to your liquid intake and when you cath before, to make sure that's not an issue when you're like mid-race?
Yeah, so I'll start with the day-to-day and just explaining like the way that I do things, because it's different for everybody, right? I use intermittent catheter from, I think it's called Speedy Cath. The brand is maybe Coloplast.
Probably Coloplast. It's the Coloplast one.
Coloplast
Yeah.
Speedy Cath.
Mm-hmm.
These little turquoise things that I keep in my bag. I have a little bag that I keep on the back of my chair, and I can just flip it around and grab what I need when I need it. So I will say that for a C5, maybe I shouldn't even say this out loud, I'll knock on wood, but for a C5 spinal cord injury, I have been extremely lucky with my bladder and bowel.
Nice.
I went through a rough couple of years. and I don't know if it's the medication that I ended up getting on or just your body adjusting over time. But the first 4 years post injury, I was getting so many UTIs, like couple a month.
Oof.
It was just like I couldn't escape it. I don't know why. It was brutal, and I I hated wearing leg bags. I didn't want to have anything attached to me.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was definitely really hard. And I think it's it's crazy how something like that can affect your mental health too. Um, when you're having to deal with something like a UTI and your entire life has to be put on pause so that you can manage that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But luckily I've been to so many different doctors. I've tried a bunch of different medicines, and eventually I got to a point where it seemed to settle out about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Nice.
Since then, I might get a UTI every 6 months. I haven't had one in a while. So I'm saying all this to say I'm lucky, and it's been fairly easy for me, especially the last couple of years. That being said, I'll cath usually on my own, every 4 to 6 hours on average, depending on how much I'm drinking, how hot it is outside, stuff like that.
Yeah.
When I'm at the racetrack, it's not the easiest when you're in a full fire suit and
I bet. I was
and
thinking about that.
underwear, and you have a helmet on in the car, and yeah, it's definitely not easy. That's something that I think a lot of the plus sides that I can see are that come from my mindset are just like eventually you don't care.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't care what people think. And I'm not even that far out of my injury. I can't imagine what I'm gonna be like in 10 years. It's probably gonna be bad. 'Cause I just don't care. If I know that when I get the sensation that I need to go to the bathroom, I don't have more than 3 to 5 minutes max before I'm gonna start having an accident.
Right.
So it's like, uh, what do the people around me want to deal with? That or me telling them to like shoo away for a second so I can cath in the race car? Like I just I've kind of learned not to care what people think about it,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna do it when I need to do it, and uh, I mean, I'm not gonna go exposing myself in front of people, but
Thanks.
yeah, I'm at least going to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
So in the race car, usually I'll try to cath before I go out every session. Um, and sometimes in the middle of summer, there's nothing you can do, and like you're overheating. You have a spinal cord injury. You can't sweat, so you're chugging water, right? Trying to keep yourself cool in any way you can. You're overhydrating, and by the time so I'll cath and then I'll like start getting ready. By the time I even get in the car, I'm already like
Gotta go.
gotta pee again. Like
Yeah.
it can be brutal, especially in the middle of summer. Usually, if it's not hot out, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
I can get myself through the session. Uh, but there have been times where I'm driving, I'm in a race, and I've just been like, well, I'm peeing.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. Like, there's not much I'm gonna do about it. Um, my blood pressure will spike a little bit
Mm.
if I start going to the bathroom like without cathing.
Yeah.
It'll just be kind of like tingles and blood pressure spike in my face, feeling like sweaty and stuff like that. But usually, at least from my experience, I've never gotten to a point where it's caused me to pass out or anything like that. So,
It's good.
um,
We try to stay away from that autonomic dysreflexia, right?
yeah,
I don't know if you've
yeah,
had
as
any,
much as
you've had to
possible.
deal with that, but it's not fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to stay away as much as possible.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
thanks.
yeah, it's kind of just you do what you got to do at the end of the
Yep.
day, and people understand. So,
Exactly. Thanks for opening up about that, and it's good for anyone listening to just. That's part of just what this ally program's trying to do, and like podcast is just like normalizing it. It's like,
yeah,
listen, this is just how we go to the bathroom. Big deal. But
yeah,
really, it's it might seem like it when we first get hurt, but you really get used to it, like
yeah,
for sure. Like probably like not even a year in. But it's always interesting, to get to pick people's brain on like how they manage it and what they're doing when I feel like people are like really busy like you and have something where you're like locked in a car and you have all that
yeah,
loose clothing on. So I know you try to go as much as you can and avoid any of those like situations and do it in the most healthy way possible. But it sounds like you're doing real good, especially the past year or two,
yeah,
with less UTI. So I'm happy for you about that because it does affect your quality of life, right? I mean, if you're having a UTI all the time, it's like you can't stay out of the hospital or you're not feeling good and you're on antibiotics and then you gotta.
yeah,
It's not fun and it gets in the way of your life. So any way that you can avoid those UTIs, we try. I know you said you went to a doctors a million times. Probably try different medications.
yeah,
I encourage anyone who's listening, like if you are having UTI issues, to also just look into it and feel free to reach out to anyone here at New Motion Medical Supply, because sometimes we can send some different samples of catheters, closed system catheters, like I think one that like that you have with the Speedy Cath and everything. That's good. They are pointed specifically to reduce like infections and stuff like that. So everything that we can do, any little help that we can get, and you just got to find what works for you.
yeah,
So I've learned to stay away from certain drinks if I'm really trying to keep away from one and stuff like that. You just kind of work it out, figure it out. So,
yeah,
but anything that we can do to help with the Ally program. There's a lot of different research that goes into this stuff, and there's a lot of cool articles and videos that touch on this. So if you're having an issue with UTIs or you have any questions about cathing or anything like that, please feel free to reach out or whatever the case is, and just get on with your life so you don't have to think about it so much. And that's where Lance is at. Lance says it's not really something that he thinks too much about now, and he's killing it, and he's racing, and he's beating everyone. So I'm excited to
Right.
continue to watch your journey, man. It's
Thank
been,
you.
and I'm sorry I didn't want to take up too much of your time today. I appreciate you joining the podcast. Super fun. I hope this didn't feel like a work interview that you've had from 5 to 10 p.m. And talking to guys in China and stuff like that.
Not at
Hopefully,
all. Not at all. It was great
hopefully
talking with you. I appreciate you having me on.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Please give Lance a follow and see his journey. I know I definitely enjoy it. And please, join the Ally program if you're not part of it already. And if you have any questions or you're interested in to find out more about New Motion Medical Supply, feel free to reach out to me through text, email. Really any way. I'm pretty open. So all my contact info is available. But thanks again, Lance, and I'm rooting for you.
Yeah, thank you so much.